South it was that I traveled, beset on all sides as well as above by the falling snow. Like a hot comet burning through the vacuum of space, I arrived to meet fellow warriors with purpose on my mind, to train our skills for the future in both combat and art. In the council of said warriors, I have gathered to ask the questions. Greetings, chromatic warriors. Ask questions I shall. I took the opportunity to pick through the minds of some fellow Golden Demon winning artists. All of us have gathered together to prepare some entries for Adepticon in the near future, and everyone but me had a Golden Demon entry to work on. Not that I don't have an entry for the Golden Demon. I was working on Apocalypse for the Worthy painting competition. At any rate, I peeled these guys away from their intense work to ask some silly and some serious questions. So, let's go. What got you hooked on painting harder? Was it a model of a lady or a man?
Probably some kind of creature, I guess. Not exactly a lady or a man, but I think my first big class that I took was with Alfonso Geraldo's with Banshee, and I'd never really been introduced to like color theory or like lighting or anything. It was nothing I ever really thought about with painting miniatures, and I think that was like really the beginning of the last segment of my life with this thing, and so that really kind of hooked me into it being more of like a harder science or like understanding things. You're like, oh, like actually now people are really thinking about this thing. They're not just like good at it, and like that's a misconception in art, right? Is that it's like something inside you always, but it's really about learning and growing, and that was nice to hear that you could get better.
Fantasy or sci-fi?
Fantasy, easily fantasy. I like sci-fi a lot too, but fantasy, just something about it just is the escapism of fantasy and the feelings of like what we can be and being better, and these really characters that really inspire you and that, you know, like have flaws but are just have worked through them and whatever it may be. Fantasy just really gets me going. I love the creatures, love the magic, and that's just stuff that I grew up on. Lord of the Rings has been with me since I can remember having memory, so I think that's where I'm at.
Hell yeah.
Fantasy.
If you could choose to be armed with any medieval weapon, which one would you choose?
Spear. I like a spear,
Fast.
dude. I like a spear, dude.
I cut you off.
Because I think a spear is like, you can get range with it, and you can like set up defensively, and it's just like a regal looking weapon. That's like, I like a spear.
What's the best piece of trash that you've found useful?
For like in miniature painting or just in like everyday life?
Related to miniatures.
I mean, I guess like I use like my varnish caps for, I've used like caps of like primer or varnish to paint models on for like 10 years. Everybody's got like a painting handle, but I just tack them on there, and so it's like utilizing stuff that would have gone in the garbage. But yeah.
Your project has a very pleasing and what I think is a unique composition, and I see that happening with a lot of your work, but could you explain some of the thoughts and theories going into your project?
Yeah, I think so I've always liked doing units because I just like building out the world a little bit more and having kind of different characters in the same setting, and you kind of just get to build more than just having a single character. But every time I do a unit, I do it for gaming because I like gaming too, and then I wind up being like, I really like the piece, but I wish I had just done it on a display. So like for this piece, I'm like, I'm not going to play Blood Bowl. I like the game, but I'm not going to play it, so I want to do the display. The composition stuff is just something I've been doing a lot of reading on. It's something I think like I'm missing in my work on a larger scale, and I want to play with. So that was just something I knew I wanted to do. And then the plinth and stuff. I don't know if that's a separate question. The plinth stuff. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So the plinth and stuff is honestly inspired by Bob Cohoon's piece that he did last year for Blood Bowl. That he did his on a football plinth, and that's like a really unique and just charming way to display the miniatures that people aren't exactly taking full, like grasping fully. I think right now we're like exploring a lot. So I was like, okay, well, what can we play with? Can we play with weird shapes? Can we do this thing? And it took me a while to kind of figure it out, but I'm really happy in the end that like from conception to like sketching it out to like having the note cards and like kind of piecing it together and then sending that off and then getting, this thing back. And that's the best part of miniature art and creating is having a concept, having the spark of an idea, and then all of a sudden having it in your hands at some point and being like, wow, this like came out of me, or like my experiences filtered through me like made this thing. So yeah.
Nice. In miniature painting, people are often seeking a lot of advice on how to improve, and it comes to the fundamentals. But above that, I find knowing how to paint and then looking at the world, the challenge of imagination comes into play. So personally, when you're trying to get inspired or fuel your imagination, is there anything that comes to mind?
I feel like the last 10 years of my life I've gotten, just because like the amount of content that is in the modern era, like there's so much in my brain of like things that I've read and viewed and looked at and I feel like at this point where I'm at, I feel like I have that in me, so I'm not always like seeking inspiration. It's seeking reminding of things you already know sometimes, and then just executing on it. And I think like there is a certain point where like running off for advice is detracting from your own experience, and like you have to trust your gut at some point and just go for it. Because at a certain point, if you're just always getting influence from outside sources, you're never really creating your own thing, and then your imagination is kind of just constantly influenced, which it is to some degree. But I think at some point not taking advice and not going and seeking like anything from anybody and just letting whatever's coming out of you go, and then you go and get feedback and do better next time. But maybe honestly, like not letting too many things influence you is kind of where I'm at right now. Is it's just like whatever, I've got it in me, I just need to do it. So
Hell yeah.
yeah.
Final question. What's your favorite color?
I like a turquoisey teal, kind of somewhere in that blue-green range. I like a colder colors. I'll tell you what my least favorite color is, too.
Let's do that, yeah.
I don't like orange. I think orange is like, I don't like orange pigments. I don't like orange in compositions a ton. And I like as I've done more research on color theory, some people don't even say orange is a color. It's like yellow, red. It's not even good enough to be its own thing. I don't know where that started for me, but orange just never works, which ironically is like teal and orange, I think can be a very pleasing thing, but that's where I'm at on the two ends of it.
The rainbow might argue with you, but...
Yeah, fair. Yeah, of course.
What got you hooked on painting harder? Was it a model of a lady or a man?
The person who got me to paint harder was actually Todd Swanson. I ran into him, reconnected with him in 2022 at Golden Demon. He told me basically that I was good, but I could be better. And he took me under his wing and developed kind of a plan for Golden Demon, and then didn't place in 2023, but placed in 2024 under his tutelage. So, but it was actually models of ladies that was the first spark, and then I turned it into halflings later. So
nice. The Todd father provides. What is your favorite alien race?
Elves, for sure. The new Eldar releases have me excited. I've always loved elves. Lord of the Rings is a big influence on me. Love Two Towers, seeing the elves, fight alongside the humans there. So yeah, elves are my favorite fantasy or sci-fi race for sure.
Hell yeah. City or forest?
Forest for painting for sure. But I do find a lot of inspiration when I go on hikes, see how, the foliage lays on the ground or decaying things on the ground to get ideas for making bases. And I love the vibrant green colors and kind of like the natural, colors of the forest.
Hell yeah. Have you ever made your own tool?
Yes, yeah, I do make a few of my own tools. The most famous one is the Whirly Bob, which is a IKEA milk frother with the frothing attachment removed for mixing paint. So I kind of like bend it into a crook, and then you stick it into the bottle of a paint and mix it up. It's great for mixing up metallic pigments and really any paint. So yeah, it can revive some old paints and get your pigments nice and mixed up. So
would you ever kickstart the Whirly Bob?
No. No, but if you run into me at a show, I might have one. So yeah, hit me up.
Any medieval weapon, which one would you choose?
Oh gosh, I love the look of a halberd. Kind of the combination of an axe and a spear, I think is pretty badass. So yeah, that's a fun one.
Favorite Space Marine chapter?
Ooh, gosh, I grew up playing the Dawn of War games, so I do love Blood Angels, but I don't know, I don't paint too many Space Marines, but yeah, there's so many great color combinations. That's usually what I would look towards, but yeah, I don't know, that's a tough question. So many great ones to choose from, but I'm a little bit partial to the Blood Angels, or Blood Ravens, I love kind of like that like play on the color scheme there. So with the cream and the red. So.
Oh yeah. I was like, please say Ultramarines. Please just say Ultramarines. 4 Youngblood Golden Demons, 2 Golden Demons as an adult. You have a really amazing project coming together for 2025. Can you tell anyone, what's the theory going into this? What are some of your ideas, or how did this come together?
Yeah, so I love to look at the new releases and kind of get inspired by what models are coming out, or like some existing models that I draw inspiration from. Usually it's elves, but the Ideneth are kind of like the thing that I drew inspiration from lately, just because they're kind of different from the wood elves, different from the high elves that I'm used to. So I chose to do the Ideneth group. I love the sea creatures in it, so that was kind of my base foundation, was doing the Ideneth. And then from there, just looking at different photos of color schemes for like beaches and like coral reefs and that kind of thing. So it kind of helped like, shape some of the vision based on some of the color palettes. And then I like to incorporate kind of like a bespoke plinth, like a custom sculpted plinth that kind of like matches a motif with the group. So kind of went with this like shell diamond shape that all of the that is like roughly represented by each of the figures in the group. So the squid's head is kind of diamond shaped, and then the collar around the 2 thralls are diamond shaped, and then ultimately like the headdress of the leader is that shell diamond shape. So I kind of like took that and then did a custom sculpted plinth with that shape, so I can kind of carry that motif throughout the whole piece. And then from there, I basically was just like looking at pictures of, different landscapes with that like water exists like near the coastline and stuff. So went with kind of like a coastal shoreline with like rocks, kind of inspired by some of my time in my travels, kind of like looking at different shapes and not putting them underwater, but that kind of like ether sea theme that they do. And then from there, just kind of adapting on that with the sea creatures and incorporating those onto the base, and then sculpting all the rocks up to kind of play with that elevation of the group, so that they're positioned, they can each have their spotlight on the plinth. So that was kind of the foundation of what I went with, and then from there just applying the technical. So just going with applying my color scheme and compositional elements, and yeah, pretty much it.
You've sculpted over 1,000 stones and won 6 Golden Demons. How many stones would you suggest that someone sculpts to win 6 Golden Demons? How many more? Let me try that one. What is your favorite color?
My personal favorite color is orange. I know there's some orange haters around, but
I love it.
My favorite color to paint is green, kind of drawing from that, like the forest question and kind of like the influence from nature. I just think that's a pleasing color. There's so many great greens that are out there, desaturated greens, really, really like bright, vibrant greens, variety of plant life that kind of represents that. So yeah, I love painting green. So
there must be a color that you really don't like.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I haven't painted much red, so yeah, red is a challenge, but yeah, maybe it's red. Maybe I need to push myself to paint more red stuff.
All right. What got you hooked on painting harder? Was it a model of a lady or a man?
Probably both, because it was Eldar, which has both. So
There it is.
just the variety of the different models to choose from, and just I like elves, and they're space elves, and their armor is just very stylish. So I like the style.
Have you visited my Patreon and merch store?
I have gotten. I did buy one of your shirts. I do have one of your shirts. I should have worn it.
That's my call to action. That's why I was slipping. I was like, I'll ask someone else. Like, yeah. Which Chaos God is your favorite?
I would say probably the Slaanesh God. I like Slaanesh because, once again, they're like stylish, a little freaky. They got good outfits. Sometimes no outfits for half the body. So I like Slaanesh.
Any medieval weapon. Any weapon at all. Hand-to-hand combat weapon. Which would you choose?
I would choose especially, well, I would choose the mace because the mace can do maximum damage. Plus, even if you're wearing plate armor, just the impact of a mace can really like fuck someone up. So like, if you want to do maximum damage, man, you're hand to hand, get that mace in there, you'll take some people out.
Yes, dude, that was awesome. How long have you been painting the Sphinx?
Well, I think what did the model come out in like 2010? I think something like that. I probably started painting around like 2011, 2012. So I would say maybe 13, 14 years on and off. Not like constant, just in bursts, short bursts. 3 months, take 9 to 12 months off, and then 3 months again. There's a lot of gold.
Desert or snow?
I'd say the desert. I like the desert. I don't do too well in cold. Also, I just like the, like Egyptian themed stuff. Just that kind of like desert orangey kind of yellow like color. Whereas I feel like snow just kind of, everything's just so like neutral kind of colored. So you got to kind of add those colors in when you're like painting, but you can get that more contrast, I feel, with the yellow, like your apocalypse model.
The Sphinx has been a long time in the making, but they say you should not rush perfection. And it's been over such a long span of time, I feel like miniature painting has changed a bit, and you have changed the piece with it. Could you explain like just kind of the theory, thoughts, inspiration, anything that comes to mind with this Sphinx project?
Sure. I just had like I don't know. I really like painting NMM, so like having such a huge canvas for NMM and the different elements I found interesting, like the skin, just trying to find something cool to do with that. So like choosing a material that you don't normally see a lot of, like obsidian, challenging myself to like paint different materials, and then just all the complex shapes. So I feel like tackling each section gives like more like thought that I have to put into to be like, oh, this section's curved and has all these weird little shapes in it. Now I have to figure out how to make it look like it's reflective. And all those little challenges can be, they're really rewarding to do, but they're also very intense to like try to figure it out, play around. You're constantly like adjusting. Something doesn't look right, you got to repaint it. So just tackling it in sections. Like I didn't go with a whole model approach. I kind of painted each section. So like each section kind of has variation to it, which is kind of interesting. So different techniques I tried with blending in a couple spots, which are kind of funny, which I noticed, but maybe most people won't notice. But I kind of can see myself like each section era of the Sphinx over the years.
Like rings in a tree.
Yep.
That's cool. That's very, very technical. Your like appreciation and preference in miniature painting seems to be for the technical ecstasy of it all. Very cool. What is your favorite color?
My favorite color is green. I like green. Like the hobbits. Everything that's green and good in the world. But I like painting blue probably the most. I like painting blue. Blue is really fun to paint. It's just easy. I feel like it's an easy color.
What's your least favorite color?
Least favorite? Probably yellow. I'd say like a really pungent yellow that's just like a banana yellow. I like to have a little like hints of color in the yellow, but that straight up yellow is just like, ugh.
Nice. Yeah, I want to respond to everything, but cool.
A big thank you to Kyle, Bob, and Jeff for allowing me to film their secret projects and share it out with the world. Some people hold their Golden Demon entries very close to their chests, so I appreciate the openness, and I hope that you all learned a little bit involving some various artists' theories. You know, it's usually just from my own direction, so this is a really cool chance. And for my own efforts, Apocalypse, well, he is all done at this point. You can see him standing up behind me, and
Yeah, lately what I've been focused on is more value control, limiting the amount of my extreme shadows, allowing the mids and highs to breathe on certain materials, which will then, by contrast, add weight to other materials. So I like the way that Apocalypse is standing apart from his base, looking nice and heavy and dark and cold compared to that arid, warm surrounding. Pretty simple. It took some time to render it up to this level. A big thank you for your support. As always, feel free to ask some questions down below, or maybe you'd like to log a particular question that I could ask to some professional in the future. I'd be happy to hear it. Till we meet again, my friends, buy some sunglasses and remain unchained.